Now, we all know Linux is a fantastic option for bringing old hardware and laptops back to life, but how does the Linux experience hold up on one of the most high-end laptops on the market today? This right here is the Asus Zephyrus ROG M16. And this thing right here is an absolute beast of a machine. It has an Intel Core i9 11th gen processor, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, a GeForce RTX 3070 mobile GPU with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, a 2 terabyte SSD, and probably my favorite thing is this 16-inch 2560 by 1600 display with the 16 by 10 aspect ratio. So it was about a week ago that I went ahead and installed Pop! OS on this machine, primarily because of the awesome NVIDIA support that is included in the ISO, and my experience thus far has had some major pros as well as some significant setbacks, which we will be talking about after we thank the sponsor of today's video. Now, changing and building new good habits can be hard, but the app Fabulous makes it easy for anyone to develop and stick to healthy habits. Fabulous is more than a simple habit tracker. It is a personal development and a well-being coach in your hands. With both science-backed routines and small tasks that you can easily fit into your schedule, Fabulous helps you build a healthy ritual within your daily life. This application is available for iPhone and Android. I've been using it for about a week, and out of all the features on this application, my personal favorite is the personalized journey section. Everyone has different lifestyles and goals. Fabulous allows you to keep track of your progress and routines. Another cool feature is the circle feature, where you become a part of a community with thousands of fabulous users who are trying to accomplish the same goal, giving you some peer support and extra motivation. So with Fabulous, you can discover new challenges that interest you to take on this new year. So right now, the first 100 people to go ahead and click that link in the description will get 25% off their yearly premium subscription. So make sure you head down to the link below and try the app out for yourself today. So first, what we're going to do is talk about the pros and the positive experiences that I had with this laptop, and then we are going to work into some of the cons. And the first and most obvious pro is the gaming experience. Now, this laptop is a gaming beast in general with that Intel Core i9 combined with the NVIDIA 3070, but Pop! OS plays a really strong hand in giving you some of that top tier gaming performance. Considering that Pop! OS is marketed with this specific use case in mind anyways, with those integrated NVIDIA drivers and a fantastic GNOME shell integrated switcher so you can switch between your hybrid and dedicated graphics with ease. Now, I don't game too much, but a game I do play rather frequently is the game Splitgate. And even within that, I noticed less stuttering and less dropped frames compared to when I was playing it for a little bit with the preloaded Windows operating system. And this is probably due to less background processes running on the system, such as the Asus Armory crate and other general manufacturer bloat. And I will be touching on that stuff a little bit more later. And the performance doesn't just stop at gaming. I noticed the entire system overall is incredibly snappy, and I did not notice a single instance where anything lagged or didn't perform as it should have. Strenuous processes such as rendering FFmpeg or even Kdenlive gave me full CPU utilization, and overall render times were generally quick with no problem at all. I've had some people complain Pop! OS has like a laggy the pop shop and all that, but on this system anyways, I used all the integrated features and everything was absolutely flawless. Now with Pop! OS, it's no secret I do like the general direction that they're heading with their Cosmic Desktop, and most of my impressions of this have been with those distribution review videos that I do, where I go and play around with it for a couple hours and then give some feedback. But this is the first time since early 2020 that I actually had some full-time dedicated experience in Pop! OS on actual hardware. And this extensive use has re-verified my love for the general user interface that they're going for. A simple dock on the bottom with those favorited applications with auto hide is my preference of choice. The new application panel introduced in the last update is an absolute pleasure to use. Now, pop shell tiling integrated into GNOME shell remains one of my absolute favorite features, especially using it on a laptop screen like this gave me a newfound appreciation for just the overall tidiness and organization aspect of that. When I started getting too much clutter and too many windows on my screen, I would just enable it and bam! This saved me from needing to manually move and resize windows, which we all know is not a very fun thing to do on a laptop trackpad. Now, when it comes to actually opening up these applications, I found myself preferring their run prompt for just about everything from searching and launching applications to managing the windows that I have open and even switching between different workspaces. And now it's going to be at this point that I'm going to talk about some of the cons and some of the major issues that I had running Linux on a laptop like this. Now, just this very first thing is a personal preference, so do take it with a grain of salt. Pop! OS is currently running GNOME 40, and one of the best things about GNOME 40 is those touchpad gestures. Instead of 3 fingers swipe up to get to the workspaces, it's 4 fingers swipe left? Now, this does make more sense with their vertical workspaces, but it doesn't really jive right. On this system, at least, I use gestures way less than I would have usually on a typical GNOME 40 installation. And I really do wish that there is a way to customize this, especially if it's going to be changed from what the default is. I do understand they're going to go their own way, but right now it's still GNOME. But with that, we're going to get into some of the real issues. Now, and the very first thing is with high DPI and issues with fractional scaling. But enabling this feature is basically required to make this laptop usable considering the resolution and the screen size we have here. I set this to 125% for the best look. The first issues I noticed with this was some of the applications not recognizing these scaling settings. Of the applications I used Steam, GIMP, and DaVinci Resolve. All of these needed some sort of modification in the .desktop file, or with Steam specifically, I actually had to make a custom key binding to the former Asus Armory Crate launch key that doesn't really work anymore with a little bash script. Now, if this was the only issue with the fractional scaling and all that, it really would not be a big deal. But when I would close the screen and it would suspend, it would randomly reset my 2K resolution down to 1280 by 800, and then just completely reset any fractional scaling options I had. And this did happen on both hybrid and dedicated graphics settings. Now, I did try to figure this out. I Googled it, I posted on Twitter. It has something to do with kernel modules not loading properly or something like that. This on the screen now is what my screen would flash when it does this. If you know what's going on, please do let me know. An okay but less ideal solution to this is increasing the font scaling in GNOME tweaks, but as you'd guess, this is only the font, sliders, checkboxes, and other non-text UI are not affected, so it just kind of looks weird. Now, the next issue I had is just a super common one with Linux, and that is some of the key manufacturer features were simply not there. Now, yes, it is nice not having as many background processes running, but it's also nice when all the features that are supposed to be there with certain function keys work as well. Basic things such as brightness, volume, and the keyboard lighting work, but really that's as far as it goes. Using the Aurora key to change the colors does nothing, and of course I did try to get OpenRGB working with no success. There is a fan control speed button, but in this case, you're going to need to go ahead and just depend on your BIOS. And some of the other basic functions, such as the screenshot function, you're going to go ahead and need to set up a custom key binding for that. Similar to what I did with launching Steam and the Armory Crate button. Now, many of these cons in general, I knew and was very aware would be an issue. As someone who has a strong preference to Linux, I accepted some of the minor fallbacks of losing some of the Windows software-specific features, just as I do with most Linux installations. But the issues with the high DPI and the resolution scaling is just something that's really hard to expect. If I was somebody just trying out Linux for the first time, that would be an absolute deal breaker for me. Now, this isn't really a Pop! OS specific issue or even a Linux issue in some cases necessarily, especially when it comes to some of these applications not respecting the system settings. But for the most part, this was really the only significant issue that I had using this laptop. And with this kind of testing this out on this laptop, I can see why System76 doesn't really offer laptops greater than a 1080p display, at least in my short little research I did on their website. Now, with all this said, this laptop is going to be coming up a lot more in reviews and benchmarking. I've done a lot of different benchmarking videos with my desktop in the AMD kind of ecosystem, but I am excited to do some benchmarking videos with the Intel side of things. So with that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that or the dedicated review I'm going to make specifically on this laptop. With all that, thank you to our YouTube members and Patreon supporters. You guys are fantastic. Also, thank you to Fabulous for sponsoring this video, of course. Go ahead and use the link down in the description to check them out. And yeah, I hope you have a fantastic day and goodbye.